Up and running. Hello again, everybody. Oh, my mic is way behind me. Okay, that should be better. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Derek, and I am on the spur of the moment going to do a Wargaming Weekly. Okay, so this is my channel's weekly live stream where I shoot the shit and I paint miniatures and talk about just things, anything that comes up, and you're welcome to chat with me if you want to touch base with what I'm doing, or you feel like you just want to share stuff with me, or you got questions, or you just want to tell me that you're happy that your football team won this last weekend, or whatever. I am totally okay with any conversation. Okay, but let me start off by saying that this is unscripted. I do not have an agenda, a script. Sometimes I do, but I would say 75% of the time I don't. This time, I don't. It's all up here, baby. It's all up here. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about is my Macedonian army. Once I do these 3 units, I've got... okay, once I finish these 3 units, I think I'm going to set the Macedonians off to the side and say they're finished. They're not, but I'm going to say they are. And then... because I still have Indians, and I still have a few successor units that I want to put together. I'd love to do some Macedonian elephants. Yeah, so that. Yeah, so these are 4-figure units, and I'm upping them with the remaining figures that I have. I had all my figures. You might have seen this on my ancient update. What I've done is I was going to up these up to 6 base units, and some things changed. So we'll get to that. So all those additional figures I trimmed. I don't know what you would call them. Stuck, or popsicle stick, or prepared, I guess you could call it. And then basically got them all ready for today. And then I have already taken them outside and primed them before the video started. So by the time I get done with this introduction, they should be done. Okay, so I'll be bringing in those additional figures, and then what we'll do is I'll probably go into detail of what's going on with these figures and continue on. I also just received my shipment of Mortem et Gore. I believe this is. I'm guessing these are. Let's go ahead and find out. I was expecting them today, but when I went out to do my delivery, I noticed this was in the box. So either it was delivered earlier this morning, or I might have neglected, or it might have been delivered late last night. So yeah, those are the books. Okay, so let's just pull one of them out. You already know. If you're following along on my channel, if you've been to any of these other videos, you know. But there we go. We got some brand new Maximus and Magna. Oh, you can't really see. Maybe you can see better over here. Maximus and Magna rule books, which when we end this video, I only have 3 of them in this package. All 3 of those will be going on to my store. So if you're interested in getting this set of rules, can't find it anywhere for sale, check out my eBay store, pick it up there. Now, just to say a couple of words about those rules, I recommend the Maximus Magna rulebook as opposed to the compendium book. The compendium book is a hardback. It's also twice as thick as that. But there's quite a bit of fluff in the compendium book. If you like that, that's great. There's a bunch of pictures in there, which I love. I'm glad I have it. But it's unnecessary for a rule book. I mean, it's fun. It's good. It's nice artwork to look at as you're reading. But it's not completely necessary. Plus, there are some chapters in the compendium book that I feel are completely, not completely. Completely is a little bit too extreme. I'm just going to say they're severely or heavily unnecessary. Like, one of them talks about the author, which I love that, but it's a whole chapter. One of them talks about their online presence, Facebook, their Twitter, their website, and all that. And that's completely unnecessary. All they need is like, this is their website address. Boom, done. Doesn't need to be a whole chapter. They talk about their terrain mats that you can get. Unnecessary. There's a bunch of unnecessary stuff in the compendium edition, but then again, I got a fly flying around here. But then again, it wouldn't be a compendium edition if it didn't have all that extra stuff. So it is exactly what it says it is. It's just that I like these books better. These are more concise, they're more precise, and they're softbacks. I kind of like that. Like in the compendium edition. Here we go. Here's another thing. In the compendium edition, they have a whole chapter in the back on army lists, but they don't give you an army list. They show you what an army would look like once it's built. It doesn't give you, like, this is a mid-Republican Roman army list. And then this is maybe a starter army at this many points. No, it just says this is a starter army at this many points. But if you want to figure it out, go back to that chapter where we talk about online presence. Yeah, so it gives like 5 armies, which it's cool to see that and to kind of get an idea, but it doesn't explain anything. And then in addition to that, it gives you these paper tokens that if you wanted to ruin your book, you could cut them out of your book and use these tokens on the table. But it would be better that if you just get bases, just get the bases that the figures would normally go on and put those on the table. Even if you don't have the figures, you can move the bases around. That's kind of what they're saying about these tokens. I could just write on the base, or you could get cardboard, or you could get whatever you want, but I wouldn't cut out my rule book. Yeah, there's just quite a bit of difference between the Compendium Edition and the Magnus and Maxima rules. Now, the Compendium Edition also talks about Pacto, which is a third set of rules This is Magnus and Magna. There is something called Pacto. Now, if I wanted the Pacto rules and you wanted the softback, you would have to order the Pacto separately. I don't like that part, but it does reduce the cost of your Magna and Maximus rules because they don't bother putting any Pacto information in there. But that's not really true because in my rulebook, these are the 3 going on the set. Excuse me. I've already kind of breezed through my version of the rules. And there is some Pacto information in there. So, but it's only hinted at. It's not really driven home. Okay, so what else? Safety. Let's talk about safety a little bit. Okay, so these Old Glory Greek Agema cavalry are a lot like my foot companions or my hoplites in that they just have hands, right? And you've got to drill them out and put a wire in them. Okay, so I went in and I found out what the Zyston or whatever it is, Xiphos or whatever it is, the lance that the Agema are carrying, and the length of it. I cut them to length. Actually, I cut these to 30 millimeters. 30 millimeters would be about 12 feet to scale. Because if a 15 millimeter figure is 6 foot, then double that, it's 12 foot, obviously. And I use 45 millimeters, which is 3 times that, for my pikes, which are supposed to be 18 feet, which is 6, 6, and 6, right? So it's pretty easy math, actually. So these spears are 30 millimeters long, which is pretty long when it comes to, it's double the height of a soldier, right? This morning, I went to reach to grab my additional figures for priming, and I went all the way down to the figure before I realized that my finger had been punctured. You can see that right there. It's not in focus because I got the autofocus turned off, I do believe. But either way, you don't need to see it. There's a hole there. And that is actually not the first time I received a hole. This was when I was working on the hoplites. This hole over here was when I reached and grabbed for those guys. So I've punctured my fingers twice dealing with these wire spears. So be careful. Now, once they're painted, and you can actually, because right now you can't see them. They're brown as opposed, they're dark and everything. So when I paint them wood color, which I usually use, this Model Master wood. Yeah, I use that on the spears, and then if the tip is up or down or whatever the tip is, I usually paint it black for about 10 millimeters, and then for about 8 millimeters, I paint it with like a plate mail metal or a metallic, not oily steel and not gun metal, because those are like metal that has been blued, and it doesn't look good on a sword or a spear. So usually I'll use steel. Well, this is a steel. This is natural steel, but I I would use that. That's not a problem. Because I know that's awful bright and it's like extreme. Okay, it looks like the focus is on autofocus. But I use the natural steel from AK, or I use the natural steel from Vallejo. They're basically the same. And, or I'll even use the War Paint's plate mail metal because I don't know. I just feel really good with those. Because once you put your wash on them, then they are, it brings it back a little bit. So you don't have to use a dark metal. You can use the steel and wash it. It'll draw it down. Okay. Still waiting for those guys to dry. They probably are already dry. That's just being honest. Because they've been out there for 30 minutes. And I don't know if you know this about Tennessee right now, but we're not having a heat wave. I wouldn't call it a heat wave, but it is 100 degrees outside. It's been 100 degrees before. It's not any climate change or BS bullshit like that. And nobody has called me this, but I'm going to call myself this. I'm a climate change denier. Not that I don't believe climate changes, because I do. And I do believe the Earth is getting closer to the sun. Absolutely. Do you know how much closer to the sun Earth is getting? I think it's like 1 inch every 10 years or something like that. It's ridiculously slow. Over the course of like 1,000,000 years or 1,000,000,000 years, something like that, we'll notice a few degrees change. By then, we'll probably have more efficient air conditioning, hopefully. And the plants, I'm not concerned about the plant life or the sea or any of that, because the plants and animals, as well as the humans, will probably evolve, adapt, what am I talking about, over time. So there are people on Earth that have evolved and adapted to their conditions in less time, is what I'm saying. I mean, just look at and I don't know if you're supposed to call them this, but I call them Eskimos. So you get the like an Alaskan tribal people. Their bodies are well suited for cold temperatures, right? You look at African people. Their bodies have adapted and are well suited for the hot temperatures. So if there is global warming, like a more severe, faster than the approach to the sun, because of us, because of what we're doing, our bodies are going to adapt over time. Our technology is going to improve, so we'll be able to alleviate any of those problems. So I don't have a problem with climate change. That's not a concern. And the statistics are, and I'm not a doctor, you'd have to look this up yourself, but the statistics are, there are more deaths from cold weather than there is from hot weather. So there is that. So yeah, I'm a climate denier. But it is extremely hot here. That doesn't mean it's climate change. It just means it's hot. Sometimes water is wet. Okay, we talked about the book. We talked about, okay, I got some bases in. You know what? I was placing an order for, I was placing an order for the range rulers, the gauges, right? And now every time I reach for this unit, I'm like super cautious, like, am I going to get poked? Okay, so let me go grab those other figures so I don't have to concern myself with it. I'm going to bring them in, and then I'll be able to just get into it. So give me a second. Let me go run outside. Let me grab them. Let me put these Mortem et Gloriam books off to the side because they're going to go on the store. Now, the best time to do any kind of painting is when it is super hot and low humidity. There is a technique. I just thought of this when I went outside because it really was. It didn't feel like it was 100 degrees. Maybe I'm adapting. Okay, but okay, which unit would poke the hell out of me? This. Okay. Oh, these are kind of shiny. Okay. Maybe they just haven't dried yet. But it's okay because it's the wonderful world of was. Okay, so one of these groups or none of them. Ah, that one. Okay. Just trying to remember which ones these are going into. Okay. One reason why you want to paint in extreme heat, or I don't mean paint really. There's a technique that I used to use back in the 80s and 90s, which is called baking. When you prime your figure, you throw them in the oven at about 100 degrees. Maybe, yeah, around 100 degrees. Something that's not going to like melt your miniature. It's also not going to, cause your paint to spontaneously ignite. Nothing like that. You just want it to be really hot. Now, you don't have it on. This is something I preheat it to 100 and then I turn it off so that it's gradually cooling, but it's cooling starting from 100 degrees. So I'll throw the figures in there while they're primed, and what it'll do is it'll flash bake your prime to the miniature, and then like 10 minutes later you go in and pull them out or whatever, and then the paint will be basically permanent. The paint will it'll be extremely hard to take off any primer that you bake onto a miniature. There are other people that I've seen use like a blow dryer or a heat gun, sometimes just a heat gun, like a gun that for electricians where they melt or they shrink the shrink wrap, or they wrap a box with some plastic and they'll shrink it with a gun, because what it's doing is it's like a blow dryer. It's just blowing out hot air, and they do that to their figures to externally bake them. So that's always something you can consider. I feel that since the 90s or so, paint technology has gotten to the point where, and probably my lack of caring has gotten to the point where I don't worry about that anymore. I just prime them. I let them. I sometimes leave them outside to bake in the 100-degree weather that's outside. So basically, these guys are baked, and not in the fun way. Okay, so let's talk about my Macedonian army. I got a million things I want to talk about, but we're not going to get to half of them today. We'll get to 500,000. How about that? No, we're just going to get to a handful of items. First thing is the agemas, right? You're allowed to have. Okay, sounds like mail is going by. So those books didn't come by this morning. I must have not picked them up yesterday, which means they came a day early because I wasn't expecting them until today. That's cool. Okay, so the agema, I want to say agema because that's English, but this is Latin. So the agema are basically a companion cavalry unit. It's just the group of the companion cavalry guys that are the elite or the veterans, right? So a different squadron, but there's two companion cavalry units. Now, because of my agema, I don't even know. My companion cavalry, I only had 8 bases because that's what this is. So what I'm forced to do, which I'm okay with, but I can field one companion unit with 6 bases, or I can field 2 companion units with 4 bases, and just make one of them the agema, or I can field just one agema unit or whatever at 6 bases. So I've kind of resolved myself to say I think it's better to have the flexibility of the 2 agema units, or I'm sorry, the 2 cavalry units. And if I'm going to do that, just go ahead and make one of them superior. Well, I think this one's already superior. I think this one becomes exceptional. So it becomes like super good. All right. And then there is the matter of the Thessalians and the Greek cavalry. And if you look here, that is 4 bases, right? And then each of these 2, because there's not 4 figures the way I did it, each one of these is a base. So that's 6 bases of Thessalians. And then this would do the same, which would make it 6 bases of Greek cavalry. Now, I could take a couple of these bases and put them in those units and just say my companions are bigger. But I don't need to do that really. I mean, let me back that up. I could take 2 of these bases and put it with that and make the agemas a 6 base unit. And then I could take these 4 with the remaining 2 bases of these guys and make my companions a 6 base unit if I wanted to do that. And then the Thessalians could be 2 4 base units like that. And then I would have all great cavalry. So I don't think there's too much of a... I've got a lot of varieties. But part of my point is This is every Greek Cav figure that I own. Yeah. And the only consideration I have for the different units or how I want to organize the units is the colors of their capes, um, and their linothorax or whatever it's called. So the agema and the companions, I think the agema I'm going to go with like a purple, and the companions I'm going to go with like a yellow, and then the Thessalians, and then the Greek. So the Greek, I think I'm going to go with like a lighter blue, and then the Thessalians, I'm going to have to take a look to see what their dominant color is. I don't think it's green. It might be red. Actually, it might be red. So we'll have to take a look at the different colors. And that's one way you can identify them on the table, is they'll be color coded. Okay, so before we get started, which I don't even know if I'm going to get started on this video, I'll pull out some flesh, because you always need some flesh, right? I'm getting ready to dry brush this entire group with a white, right? This white is going to be dry brushed on the entire thing. This whole red, it's either the whole red or the red brown. Yeah, I think the whole red is what I'm going to paint the horses. Now I might consider the horses with this grunge brown. So we might do a whole red dominant and then do a blend, which is like a heavily watered down grunge to give the rump and the neck some highlights. That's probably what I'm going to do with that on those guys. Obviously, there will be wood on their spears. Okay, in Latin, this is rosa purple, but in English, it's squid pink, right? So is this rosa purple or is this squid pink? I think squid pink is not a very official color name. I think that's the company just applying a name. I have other purples. Oh. Okay, that's magenta, which when I paint anything, I don't know, magenta is kind of a good looking purple, actually. But it looks a little too red, so on the table you might mistake it as being red. And this purple, which is beaten purple, is a little too dark, right? I want it to be light, vibrant. I've got to look in my head that I want it to be, and I think that's too dark. I'm still leaning towards this color. On the shelf, magenta looks like the perfect color, but I know that when I paint something magenta, it comes out red. Yeah. This scorn red looked purple on my shelf, so I think I might test this. This is actually a very official color. Alien purple might be better. It's a lighter purple. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll test all three of these to see which purple I like best. And that's the name of that tune. Okay. Almost forgot about blue. Blue is an option as well. Arr. Okay. So some things might be pure red. Flat yellow. These are all cape colors. And blue. Now this is blue-gray, which I have to shake it up because it looks settled. Okay. That looks a little too light. This would be a good armor blue color, but not the cape. Sky blue is just, or I should say dark sky is just way too dark. Where is my, this might be it. Okay, dark gray. And if you remember, I use that for the spear tip. Okay, this is Vallejo's natural steel, but it feels like it's a little darker than what I'm wanting. So we're probably going to do these. I'm probably going to do that. Okay, now bronze. I've run into a conundrum, if you wish. Let me get a sip here. I ran into a conundrum, and look how many colors I've already considered. But I have something called bronze, right? I have something called, oh, not that. Is it in the back? I have something called weapon bronze. Okay, set that off to the side. I have a P3 color called Orgoth bronze. I think that's it. I think those are the only bronze colors that I have. What is this in the back that I can't reach? Looks like a steel color. Oh, silver. Yeah, silver is too bright. Okay. So these are the colors that I was contemplating. I watched a video from Army Painter where they were painting some Romans, right? And the guy did not use weapon bronze from his army painter. He used greedy gold, right? So I have been using greedy gold um, to rep bronze on a lot of units, because this weapon bronze looks too, I don't know, it looks too orange. So I don't even consider it. I mean, it's sitting on my shelf and it's basically just collecting dust because I never use it. So I've been using this greedy gold, but something in my mind was telling me that I should use Vallejo bronze because bronze is bronze. But Orgoth bronze is just way too dark, so I decided against that. Okay. But doing research on writings of the period and color photographs, no, drawings or paintings, but mainly the descriptions and historical, I should say, history buffs, people that study that for a, have doctorates in this, have said that the bronze wouldn't look bronze on the soldiers, right? Because at the time, throughout history, soldiers maintain their equipment, right? They, first of all, if you've got a set of armor, like let's just say a breastplate, and you're hoping it's going to protect your life because, it's armor, you're not just going to let it rust out or corrode or develop some bronze look. What you're going to do is you're going to clean it. You're going to make sure your leather is in top shape. You're going to polish it, right? And if you take bronze and you polish it, it actually looks silver, right? There's a whole Macedonian unit called the Silver Shields, and they're not called the Silver Shields because their shields are made of silver or were painted silver. It's because they polished the hell to a mirror finish on their shields, which made them look silver. So if you were to ever paint medieval ancient bronze style equipment, if you wanted it to look fresh and new and clean, you would use a more silver color, right? More so than this, right? This greedy gold, right? It's a little bit too yellowish. But if you know how bronze is, and this is also not even right, it's more brown. If you know anything about metallurgy, bronze is actually a combination of two metals. It's a combination of tin, and that's probably where the silver content comes from, and copper. Now, copper gives it kind of a yellowish tint, right? Like these, but there's tin in there. This is actually probably a more accurate bronze color than this. So I'm going to put the greedy gold away. Okay. But here's my conundrum. When you paint it with this, and then you apply a wash to it, or even if I go back and highlight it with this, it still looks brown. It looks dark. It doesn't have any kind of shine to it. It is very drab, right? Which might or might not be historically accurate, but I'm not going for that. I'm not going for a silver look. That's the knight in shining armor look, and I don't want to do that on my ancient army, even though that's probably what it would look like. And I'm not gonna go with the deep dark bronze colors because they just look too dark. So I've kind of experimented around with some of my other colors, and I ran into this color. This is called Rulic Gold, right? All their color names are from their RPG. I want to say War Master, but that's not right. They have a game. They have basically 3 games. They got Hordes. They've got a fantasy version, and well, Hordes is a fantasy version of this other game. Can't remember what it's called. I'll have to do some research on it. But and I say that because I'm compiling a list of all the role-playing games that I've ever played. But they have a miniatures game and a miniature line, and they have a paint line, and their paint line matches up with continents and factions and stuff like that from their game. And this is Rulic Gold, and I don't remember who the Rulic people are. Might be Dwarven. But it is definitely not gold. It is kind of like a gold. It's kind of like the greedy gold, but it looks like it's got more copper in it. I mean, here's the greedy gold again. You can kind of, I don't know. I experimented with this on my Greek hoplites, and it just looks awesome. You can tell it's bronze, and it still retains the darkness and the richness of the copper, but it's still a lot shinier. I don't know. This Rulic Gold is definitely the way I'm going with my bronze in the future. Okay. I think blue. Okay, blue. Blue. A dark blue, a Prussian blue. I used a Viking blue on my Greeks, and the Viking blue what's the word I want to use? It actually looked really good, but it wasn't perfect, right? I'm always shooting for something to be perfect. So I do experiments. I think I'm just going to use blue. Just straight up, not dark blue, not light blue, not Prussian blue, not flat blue, just blue. I think that's what I'm going to do. Just blue. I wanted it to be lighter, to be more of a fabric color. So, not the deep sky blue. Where's the other light blue that I had? I've also got a royal blue, which is also kind of just a shade darker, or lighter, I mean, than this. Actually might be a better blue. Because this is kind of like blue in your face. I have another blue called Look at Me Blue. It is really bright, but I'm not looking for bright. That's why I went with the Viking blue, because I thought it would be light enough. We're not doing deep sky blue because that looks like literally a baby blue. Okay, we're gonna do royal, and then if all else fails, I might do a dark. Now I could probably do a dark with a royal blue highlights. That might Nah, no. Not gonna worry about that. The reason why is I'm getting ready to dry brush these guys all white, and it's gonna have natural highlights as well automatically. So it's gonna be automatic highlights. Okay, so I think that's all the colors I'm going to need for this army. These three cavalry units, which is 4 cavalry units technically. I'm going to paint them up as Greek, Thessalians, companions, a gemma. But the Gemma and the companions are pretty much going to look the same. Maybe cape changes. I don't know. Okay, I put in a. Okay, I got to do this. I got a queasy stomach, so. I'm taking a little lozenge here. Okay. I think today, okay, yeah, this is where I was getting at. I think today, before I move on to any other project programming that I've got going, I'm going to order me a thimble. I think they make some rubber thimbles. I think I'm going to make one for my forefinger, because I don't know if you can see it, but this is the finger that blistered up, and I didn't pop it or anything. I just let it harden up on its own, and it's pretty much hard as a rock right now. And I don't want to pop it or break it or expose any flesh or anything. I'm just going to let it break itself. Might put a band-aid on it just to prevent it from doing whatever. Okay. This might be too stiff. I know your dry brushes, you want them to be stiff. Actually, that's not too bad. Like an old Games Workshop tank brush. This is a Transin art brush. I really like Transin. I don't know if you know that. These green brushes are Transin as well. I know that it's made, I believe it's made in China, but the Chinese know how to make paintbrushes. Now, apple barrel is very liquid. It watery, if you will. So I recommend a thorough shake whenever using any apple barrel paints. They're cheaper, but they're cheaper because of that. Unlike maybe folk art, which has got more paint than medium, apple barrel has a lot of medium. Okay. So you almost never need to add any water to it. I said almost. Sometimes you do. Okay. Oh, yeah. Before we get started, before I get confused, I have this Sharpie. It's not your traditional Sharpie. It's a paint Sharpie. I have a number of these in various colors, but silver seems to be the one I like best. If I order any more, I'm just going to order silver. Or gold. Okay, I'm going to put a little A, letting me know that that's part of the agemas. And then I'm going to put a C for companions. Because sometimes I'll get these sticks mixed up. A T for my Thessalians. And I think I can do, 6 stands of Thessalians. Now, luckily, the Thessalians, the Greek Cav, I guess I'll go G on these guys. They look like they're wearing the same exact uniform, armor, style. Here we go. Now I can slide them all over, pushing them together so that as I paint and they get mixed up, it'll be okay. Just the tip. There we go. Now, I watched a female streamer. It wasn't her stream. It was an upload after the stream. Because I'm not going to Twitch. I am not going to support Twitch in any fashion. I've got problems with Twitch. Their business model and the people running the show and everything. But that's another story. So, but she uploaded her video from Twitch to YouTube. And it's the first time I've ever seen her. But I was curious about the game she was playing. So I watched. And I said, okay, so we didn't get very far in the first video. And she had like 3 or 4 videos. So I said, let's watch the second video and maybe I can learn a little bit more. She wasn't a horrible person or anything, It was good stuff. It was a good video. She was very interactive with her audience. And yeah, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about interactivity with an audience because, that's what I'm doing here and I'm getting ready to be very hypocritical. She pulled out a coffee mug and started drinking, and it had some words on it. And I was like, everybody does. I do. I got a coffee mug. It's got flowers on it, but the only reason why it does is because that's the only one I could find when I was shopping for a coffee mug that was that big, right? It's like 24 ounces or something. It's a pretty big coffee mug. But, yeah, so she had this coffee mug, and I kind of got distracted by it. I said, okay, what does it say on that thing? And it said something just the tip. And I was like, oh my Lord. Now I know that's a saying from Archer, but I don't think Archer like coined the phrase. Oh, that might be a little too much. Okay, I think Archer got it from somewhere else. That's why it was an impact, because it was already known. But either way, it said just the tip. And that's what reminded me when I know I'm an idiot. Get over it. So here we go. Let's be hypocritical. I'm a hypocrite. Her video title says she's going to make a character and play in this game. Right? I'm like, okay, cool. That's why I'm coming to this channel, right? That's why I came to the video, because I wanted to see that game. I have personally played this game from start to finish, beat it like 3 times. So that's not why I'm not watching it to learn about the game. I'm watching it because I like to see people's reactions to what is in the game, and their thoughts and their feelings. And I don't know, I'm a very not empathetic is not the word, psychological driven individual. Maybe that's why I studied psychology in college. But so I'm watching, she's got like a 4-hour video, because I would, and you realize that she's on Twitch. This is just a re-upload to YouTube. So I'm like, okay, it's a long video because she's probably online all day, because that's probably what she does for a living. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I don't care about that. That just means we're going to get a lot of content. And she, during character creation, every little thing, and I'm talking about every little thing, she had to stop doing what she was doing and talk to her community. You know, there's people chatting on her site or her channel or whatever, and she's stopping doing what she's doing to talk to them, which they say you should do, right? You should engage with your, like what I'm doing right now. This is where I'm getting ready to be hypocritical. If you were to say something in chat, I would respond to it. You know? If I had 100 chats, I probably, let me rephrase that. If I had 100 chats a minute, which is a very fast chat roll, I would not answer every chat. Right? I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I don't think I'd be physically able to. But she gave it her 100% chance. She got on the chat and she started answering every question. So the character sheet just sat there on the screen. Nothing happening. And then by answering a question about, let's say, green, another question comes up about red, because they're trying to get a comparison, or they basically start a conversation in her chat, and not necessarily between two people. It could be 10, 20 people. But they're starting a conversation in chat, which that's great for her community. That's great for her live stream, because that keeps her from having to play the game. She can just sit there and talk to these people, which I could tell from the beginning they're incels. They go to her, I could tell that they go to her channel because of her looks. She's pretty. She's a pretty girl. And they're asking her questions that have nothing to do with the game that she's trying to stream. So after the second video, because I gave her a chance, I like to give everybody a chance. After the second video of exactly the same type of interaction with her community and stuff, I told myself I'm not going back to that channel. I'm not going to go back and listen to her chit chat with her community and not play the game that I went there in the first place to see her play. And now YouTube is recommending her channel because I watched 2 of her videos. And I have to turn on the don't recommend this channel button, which there is one. And that's unfortunate, because maybe she had a thought of her own. Maybe she wasn't a dingleberry. But I will never know, because all she ever did was communicate with her chat. That's not being fair. She did play a little bit. That's why I went back to the second time, hoping that it was only the character creation portion of the game that she felt like she needed to address some pressing questions or whatever. But that's not the way it was. She was constantly, even in the middle of a game, she'd be in a fight, pause the fight to answer a question and talk about the weather and, what she's drinking and, what her favorite panties are or whatever. I'm exaggerating. But I'm just going to say, I thought about this. I thought about my reaction to her video in regards to my own videos. Okay, I really added maybe too much white to this guy. Well, he's going to be a bright figure in the unit. That's okay, though. Yeah. Just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up of what I'm doing here. Yeah, all I'm doing is giving it a complete dry brush of white, so that because I wouldn't do this if they were Romans. I wouldn't do this if they were German World War II figures. I'm only doing this because they're Macedonians. And Macedonians have a lot of bright colors on them. And I want to capture the highlights and the bright colors Speaking of which, I've got two people that are asking me to do a commission for them. One guy said they're both previous customers, so they're both return customers, which that tells me that they like what I've done for them. So one of these guys, out of the blue, I didn't even know he was sending me something. It just showed up in the mailbox with a letter on the inside saying, "Do these for me, please." Right? And it's World War II figures, 15 millimeter, field flames of war. And yeah, absolutely. I will knock those out for him, my man. And he sent me a bunch of different armies. And the first one that he's going to get is more SS. Right? He's got some SS. I already painted an SS platoon for him. So now he sent me an SS company to finish, as well as some British and some Americans. But what I'm going to do now, as soon as I finish these, I said I was going to say the Macedonians are finished. Well, partially because I'm going to start working on his SS, which I'm still getting them together and cleaning them and washing the figures and organizing them and stuff like that. So I'm still in the process of doing that for him. But I realized that I've got some 28 millimeter SS that I've been wanting to do for the last few months for the store, to put up on the store for bolt action or something. And so I'm going to paint 15 millimeter SS at the same time I'm painting some 28 millimeter SS. But I don't know if I want to do that, because you know me and my painting table. I don't like putting so many figures on the table that I get discouraged or slowed down. And then I've got a second guy that he's communicated with me a month ago. He had me do some Russians for him. You remember those Napoleonic Russians. I did those Napoleonic Russians for him, but the agreement that we had, I had an agreement with him to do 2 armies and not just 1. And I understand doing 1 at a time is easier on the pocketbook and all that. I get that. So I've been waiting for a month or so before I was going to communicate with him and let him know, hey man, we had this agreement, and the reason why, I gave you some time to think about or to decide what you want done or whatever. And I never did get a chance to write him this letter, because it's very, I don't know if it's a psychology or like a psychic thing or whatever, but he sent me a letter the same day saying, okay, we got our second group of figures I need painted. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So he was right about on the same wavelength that I was. So I said, okay, what are you going to send me? You're going to send me some British, some French. What are you sending me? Well, I'm going to be sending you some World War II figures. And I was like, what? Okay. I wasn't anticipating that. I was anticipating more Napoleonics, but I'm okay with that. Let's make it happen. But and then that day or the day after, I get this box, and it's chock full of World War II figures. I was thinking to myself, "Oh, look at this! It got here already." But nope, it's from a different customer. So I'm going to be painting some World War II figures for the next couple of months, probably. Because that first set that I got, that's on the table right there where it's being worked on. Can you see it on the camera? No, you couldn't see it on the camera. But I started counting figures. It looks like there's approximately 500 figures. And as you know, I don't like painting more than about 100 figures at a time. So just the German SS are probably somewhere around 200 figures. Maybe not that many. Maybe 200. Yeah, it's possible. And they're old school Flames of War too. I'm talking they're old medals from the 90s. I'm excited to get my hands on them and paint them. Maybe even do a what's in the box. Even though they're not really for sale anymore, I still like to do what's in the boxes just to kind of let people know what they missed. Or if they find these classic models on the shelf at some, backwater game store or whatever, you might, you would know what you're getting. You heard me. I said it. Backwater. Backwater game store. I used to run a backwater game store. It's called the War Room. It's here in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is just outside of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Um, I did a lot of Games Workshop, Reaper miniatures, role playing games, card games like Magic or L5R was a big one for us because that's the game that I played. I played L5R. Um, and believe it or not, when the game store owner plays a game, it translates to sales. So if you're a game store owner and you're out there, and if you like any of the games you sell, make sure you play it a few times in the store or a lot. Play it a lot in the store. It'll get people excited and they will buy it. Especially if you like it, you can generate excitement. So like right now, if I had a brick and mortar store, if I did, there's a handful of games that I would be playing on a daily basis. Weekly basis. Let's say weekly basis. I would be playing Mortem et Gloriam. I would be playing Battle Group. I would be playing Bolt Action, Hail Caesar, Black Powder, Um, oh, I might be playing Oathmark. Got to satisfy your fantasy itch. I'd run a role-playing game once a week. And it would not be D&D. A year ago, it probably would have been. Today, it would not be. It might not even carry D&D as an option in the store, actually. That's how much I don't like Wizards of the Coast. I'm currently playing in a D&D game, but not because it's D&D or anything like that. It's because my friend is running it. He's running it. He could be running Chivalry and Sorcery or Tunnels and Trolls or Bunnies and Burrows or whatever he could. If he was running it, I would be playing in it. Doesn't matter. He's playing D&D. Okay, I'll play D&D. I won't like it, but I like the company. I don't like the knowing that we're supporting this evil company called Wizards of the Coast. It's kind of like Bud Light, you know what I mean? If I go to a party and the only thing there is Bud Light, I'll probably drink it. Won't like it. I won't like supporting the company, but I like the friendship and the companionship of my friends. I'd I'd complain about it too. I'd say, "Why'd you buy this beer? Do you know what this company is all about? Do you know why there's a huge boycott on Bud Light?" Some people are ignorant, like they just don't know, and I get it. They go to the store, they see the Bud Light is for free, so they pick it up. And I say it's free because they give you a rebate for buying their beer. And the rebate is as much as you would pay for the beer. So if you pay $15, you'll get a $15 rebate. So who doesn't like free beer? I get that. But I personally wouldn't have done it. Okay, so wow, this is taking forever. I thought to myself that I can do all of these uh, in one batch because it's cavalry, and cavalry um, there's less figures in a unit, you know, like 12 or 16 or whatever, as opposed to like my Greek hoplites, which had 32 figures. So I should be able to do it a lot faster. So even if there is 100 models on the table, which I don't think there are, I'd have to do some math here. Um, there wouldn't be 100 models. Let's just say that. There would never be that many models. If there was that many models, then it would be worse than the infantry because cavalry is infantry and a horse. Right? You got a human being and and his horse. And I like to put a little work in the horse, because cavalry, that's really what it is. It's horses with guys on their back. Look at these ghost warriors. It's like the perfect army for undead. Now, I considered this mixing the. Well, I don't need to jump on the other side. I was getting distracted. Mixing the figures, the Thessalians with the companions. Mainly, the main difference between the two, it's really the only difference that I can see, is the helmet. But I think the helmet that's on these Thessalians were also worn by the companions, right? So if that is the case, then I could see. Whoa, hold on, my man. Okay, if that's the case, then I don't see a problem with like intermixing some Thessalians into these companion units and making them a full six-figure unit. I say six-figure when I meant 6 bases. Another difference between the figures is the spear. Um, I don't think the companions say long spear or short spear, or they don't. It doesn't say what weapon system they're using. It just kind of leaves that blank. But in their special abilities, it gives them devastating. No, wait. Lancing, charging Lancer, or something like that. So that just tells me that they're carrying the Zystons, the Greek lance. But I don't see the. But I think the Thessalians have the same thing. I think. No, wait. They might have short spears. But I'm looking at these spears. And that's another thing. I could take a clipper and just go clip, clip, and clip these spears out of their hands. Then I can go to it with my pin vise and give them a spear. If I want it. I don't have that much of a concern to do that. I think this guy with this spear right here, to me, that looks like a long spear. And he could very easily be a companion. If, and this is a what if, the companions wore that style helmet. Because they're all wearing the same type of armor. They're all wearing the same type of cape or cloak or whatever. And the horses, I think they were generic. added to whatever figure you mount onto the back of the horse, because the horse blanket is actually part of the rider that you glue onto the horse. There are a few horses that have like head plumes and frill around their reins. And I was thinking I was going to use those specifically for the Agema, but there's not enough to do a full unit of them. There's just a handful of them. So they could easily be just randomized into the units. Okay. So before I actually put these units together, I'm going to double check and verify, who can I use them, or do I have to leave them? Also, the Greek unit that I put together right there, those are basically Thessalian cav. The Thessalian cav bag came with like 4 poses. Two of the poses look like they've got a javelin over their head that they're tossing, right? Now those guys do look like short spears. They look like javelins, so oh, I hit the wrong thing. Okay, there we go. A little bit of flash on the back of this guy's tail. There we go. There it went. That was folded over, and I didn't see it the first time I went cleaning. Now he's good. But basically, all of these figures, there's only 2 types of helmets. One of them is, I think it's called the Boeotian helmet. And I always thought the Boeotian helmet, I always thought this was the Thessalian cav. Because when I look, because of Warlord Games and their Macedonian miniatures, they have some Thessalian cavalry, and they're wearing those Boeotian helmets. Now, the Boeotian helmet looks like a floppy hat. It's got the helmet over the skull cap, but then it's got like this brim that goes all the way around. A lot like an English doughboy helmet, but it's wrinkled. It's not perfectly round like a doughboy. And I think that's called the Boeotian helmet. And I also thought that was supposed to be Thessalian. But in these Old Glory bags, those models are sold as Agemas. And that their Thessalians have these I want to say Phoenician Phoenician helmets, which they look like Oh, that old Nerdbert. It's an old cartoon where the guy's got this, or you could say Smurf, like a Smurf hat. It's got like this little forward-leaning bulb on the top of the helmet. I think those are Phoe. Wait, Phoetian, Phoetian, I think. And so I don't know. I'm gonna have to do before I actually get going on these. I'm probably gonna have to do just a little bit of research on the helmets, who used them, did they both use both, and if that's the case, then I can intermix all these units. Now, I would think that the Greek cav would be um, more with a Greek like T-shape helmet, or uh, the Spartan style, or the Greek hoplite. But I don't know if their cav wore that kind of helmet. Speaking of which, Old Glory. The last I looked was last night, the 22nd, which is when GoDaddy said that their website would be up and running. I went and checked. It was not up and running. I'm very disappointed with GoDaddy. I I I'm not gonna say I dreamed about it but I did think about it. Um, Contacting the movers and shakers over at Old Glory and offering to take this on. I'm not gonna do it, but I thought about it. I said to myself, I could offer my services for free. I could contact GoDaddy for them as a third party representative and be extremely stern and threatening. Now, I would not do that without permission from Old Glory. So I'm not going to contact GoDaddy and say, what the F are you guys doing over there? Oh, look at that. I knew it. That shield had a little bit of flash on it. I was like, dry brushing it and made it show up. And I was like, what the hell? And one reason why I'd even consider this is because I sell Old Glory models, right? As a retailer and a consumer myself, But as a retailer, I don't want to have to email Old Glory, which is what you have to do right now. If you want to order any Old Glory from Old Glory, you've got to send an email with your order. They will send you an invoice back or whatever that you can pay. It's a multi-step process. I haven't placed orders like that since the 90s. I haven't done any orders like that since the 90s. There's always been online website that I can go to that I can look at the models pictured, decide if that's actually what I'm trying to get for the store or my customer. My customer can look over my shoulder. Remember, I had a brick and mortar for a while. We can decide together, is this what you're looking for? Because I can order this and we can get it in, and I can get it in a couple of days. Or you can say, oh no, I thought that was going to be this, but that's not what I want. Like, we might look at these Thessalians and say, oh no, those guys are wearing the wrong helmet. Let's not order those. You know, let's order these, and I'll just use them as Thessalians. Or whatever the case may be. I can't do that as a retailer, and I can't do it as a customer either. But more importantly, I feel like I'm missing sales, because I can tell you right now, I'm probably not going to put an order in the old-fashioned way. I might. I've been dwelling on it for the last couple of weeks. Like, do I need those models? I really do. Do I want to sit here and just wait? And I was like, yeah, the 22nd, that's only around the corner. We can wait. 22nd comes around. It's not available. So what I've been doing, and this is to Old Glory's detriment, I've been pursuing these models. Remember, I'm not going to sell models on my store where I break even. That's not going to be the case. So I'm not going to, let's say, find an Old Glory bag for $22, buy it for $22, and then put it on my eBay store for $22. Why do that? Why bother? That's ridiculous. I've sunk money in, $22, and I might not ever see the $22 again. I might, plus I've got the model sitting here on my shelf taking up space. Space is money. You know, I might order an Egyptian unit, bag of Egyptians, and then they sit on my shelf for eternity. So then I basically just threw away the $22. So it's got to be wholesale. You know, I've got to get a discount so that when I sell it, I'll make a profit, and it'll make it worthwhile for me to invest in these models, hoping that they'll sell. Right? Okay. So FYI, everything you see on my channel, my eBay store, I got at less than what I'm offering it to you guys for. 100%. Well, that's not really true. There are a few items that I got from my own personal collection, and then I realized I was never going to use them, and now I'm just trying to break even on those. So those do exist. But that's not the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is get it wholesale, sell it at retail. Maybe a little bit below retail just to spark interest, drive sales, that kind of stuff. It's possible. But it's not going to be below my wholesale cost, because that would be paying you to take the model. I'm not going to do that. Okay, there's another little shield burr. Gone. So, if I can't order from Old Glory, which I order with a discount, and if I can't find Old Glory at a discount somewhere else, I have to order other manufacturers, ones that I can get a discount from, like the Plastic Soldier Ultracast. That's an example. I ordered some of them. I got them in. They're for sale on the store. If you're looking for Ultracast, I've got some what's in the boxes already made and updated. Not all of them are okay. There we go. Got it. That one was a tough one. Tough little git. I also found Blue Moon miniatures. Blue Moon, I get a discount on them as well from another company. Those, and I got a few of them in. Now, they don't have bags like Old Glory, where you get like 50 models in a bag. But they do have bags of like 8 or 12, that amounts. But their models look really good. Yeah, the Blue Moon models. I got some Naked Fanatics a long time ago for myself. And when I got them in, I was like, these guys don't look that good. I'm disappointed with them. And then, but at the same time, I had ordered some, I don't remember, some Romans, I think. And I finally started organizing my Roman baggies to see exactly what I needed and what I had and stuff like that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to open this pack. I'm going to take a look at these Romans. And they look really good. So I was like, okay, hold on now. I got a good unit and a bad unit. Let's give them a chance. Ordered some 100 Years War figures, got them in. Blue Moon. They look really good. So I'm like, okay, these guys are good. It's just that Naked Fanatic unit. And then I got to really evaluating what was in that Naked Fanatic unit bag. And I was like, no, these guys actually, if they were painted, because they're naked, right? I said, if these guys were painted with their weapons and stuff, I think they would look really good on the table. So I changed my opinion of Blue Moon. And there's battle honors, and there are others. There's Essex and stuff like that, but I don't really like Essex, to be honest. I've had some Essex Napoleonics, and they just didn't. They just don't compare. Now, I just put in a fairly large order from Plastic Soldier. I anticipate this order taking a while. Maybe an extra month, because some of it is 3D printed, apparently. And they 3D print to order. They don't 3D print them ahead of time. So I have to wait for them to get printed. Which, okay, I'll live with that. I kind of knew that going in. Now, part of that 3D print order was the marching fort, right? I got a Roman marching fort, which I'm excited for. And I think it's 10 inches on a side, which is perfect for 15 millimeter warfare. I'm comparing it to the scenario in the Hail Caesar supplement called Battles of Caesar or something like that, where Caesar and Gaul, where Caesar attacks the Germans, and one of the scenarios has a marching fort on the table, and it's a 12-inch model, or it's supposed to be. But that's based on a 28 millimeter 28 millimeter figures. I really should change this water out that I'm cleaning my brush in. Yeah, I can see it's got some earth terrain in it. When I brushed on the texture, the earth texture, I use a brush like this. The brush on, it's cheap. It's like a 25-cent brush. And when I'm done with the brush, I clean it off in the water. But that means some of the earth texture remains in my water. That's another thing. It's almost the first. You know, we got about another week or so. And I'm going to need to clean my brushes. What I do is about once a month, I'll go through all my brushes and I do an evaluation. Like, is this brush worth saving? Is it not worth saving? Do I look like I can save this brush or not? And if I can, I will. I'll use some kind of solvent. I'll also use soap, and I'll also use hot water, boiling hot water. Not just hot, boiling. Okay, that's clean. All right, we got the start. The next color is definitely going to be hull red for the horses. And then I'll probably do a wash highlight something or other. Something or other, this, that, and the other thing. Put it over here so I know that's what I'm going to be working on. Or I'm going to take a short break from painting. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to advanced camera control. There we go. I turned the autofocus off so it doesn't go. Okay, let me pull this unit out. I'm going to try to focus in. Not focus. Yeah, focus. Yeah. Okay, you see that helmet? How it kind of looks like a floppy hat? All right, with the big plume on the back of it. Whoa. Standard bearer with the floppy hats. Yeah, that is a specific type of helmet. And then this is the other type of helmet. You can see it's got like a visor on the front. Okay, hold on. Get one where you can actually see. There you go. Like a visor on the front. And then he's got like this little wave going over his head. That's what I was thinking was more of a Macedonian. And I thought the other helmet was Thessalian. So we're going to take I'm going to take a short hiatus. Away from the figures, and I'm going to go to a book I have. Bear with me. I got to locate it. Weapons. That ain't it. Napoleon. No, that ain't it. Okay, hold on, hang on. Where did I put this book? Medieval Knight. Armor. That's not it. That's talking about tanks. Treat 'em rough. No, that's not it. Waterloo. Okay. Wait, this might be it. Might be hidden behind here. Medieval techniques. That's not it. The making of the Roman army. That's not it. But I'm curious to see what this is. It's got to be one of these giant books at the bottom. No. Barbarians. No. Great Commanders. That's not it. I know I have this book. Techniques of armor making. That's not it. Warfare in the classical era. We're getting closer. These books are not organized by what they represent. They're actually organized by size to get them to fit together on the shelf. Now I might have it over on the other side. Wait, this might be it. I don't think it's it, but it might be it. That might be it too. Oh my gosh. Okay. A short history of costume and armor. Okay. I don't think that's it. Yep, that doesn't start until the Middle Ages, so that's not it. I know there's a specific book I'm thinking of, and I don't think this is it. That ain't it. Making of the Roman Army. That's not it. It's a book. I'm trying to remember. It's a book that has this. Okay, this is the complete book of weapons, an encyclopedia from 5000 BC to 2000 AD. I love that. I'm glad they don't say BCE. That's some bullshit right there. Non-Christian bastards. BCE. It says before the Common Era, right? That's just a nice way of saying before the birth of Christ. Yeah, I was thinking it's a book like that, or looks like that. I mean, I've got all these Osprey books and stuff like that, but believe it or not, they're not helpful. Okay. Well, I might have to do research online, but I've got another book here. I've got something called The Uniforms of the Roman World, and I can't see with these glasses. Okay. I should say I can't read with those glasses. Goths. Okay, that's a little late. Rome at the height of their power. Roman artillery. What? No. Come on. There's got to be an index. Chapters and stuff like that. I thought I was on it. There's the campaigns of the Republic. Talks about the Samnites, the Villanovans, the Etruscans, the Carthaginians. The Macedonian Wars, 86. Arms and Armor, 90. Okay, so we're getting close. Yeah, Thracians have that little thing on his head, but not all of them. Some of them don't. There's a Thracian slinger, okay. Okay, here we go. Cavalry. Macedonian cavalrymen. Notice the helmet. Greek and Macedonian infantry. Macedonians were Greeks. Okay, we knew that. Ruled Greece since the time of Alexander the Great. Right. I'm just speed reading now. Cavalry. Macedonian cavalry had a tradition of excellence, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Macedonian cavalry had armor and equipment similar to infantry. Okay, right. They were not comparable to the elite companion cavalry. Okay, javelins, infantrymen, arms and armor. Okay. Look at all these different helmet types. None of them are the ones I'm concerned with. Okay, there's the Roman helmet types. Yeah, because this focuses on Rome, it doesn't really talk about Macedonians. There's the Carthaginians. It just glazed over them. Okay. So we'll put that off to the side. As being not helpful. Okay, let's take a look at Army of Alexander the Great from Osprey. Cavalry. Okay, we're into the cavalry. Head of a cavalryman from the Alexander mosaic of Pompeii, the silvering of the Boeotian helmet, the golden wreath, and the white horsehair plume were probably all insignia of an officer. Okay, because it shows the Boeotian helmet right there. Thessalians. The headdress would be wide-brimmed Thessalian sun hat. Okay, well, that's not what I'm looking for. Okay, exactly what we're looking at, right? There's two examples of this type of a helmet. The bronze Boeotian helmet worn by the cavalry were made by hammering out a sheet of bronze at an armor workshop. Right. The bronze Boeotian helmet was found in June 1854 in the bed of the Tigris River. Okay. So it's just saying where that was found. Okay, here we go. Prodromi, the Allied horse, Thessalian cavalry. They might say it in the text. The figure the same in the given companion or something. How they're organized. Counterpart to the Royal Squadron of the Companions. Disbanded after a certain. Okay, these. Allied horse. Okay. Prodromi. Thracian cavalry. Not too concerned about them. Mercenary cavalry. Then it talks about the infantry. Okay. Alexander and a companion cavalry. Okay. Well, this companion is wearing a Boeotian helmet. Alongside Alexander. But if you look up here, this says Thessalian cavalry. And he's got the Boeotian helmet as well. Okay. This says cavalryman of the Prodromi. And he's wearing a colored helmet like that. Look at that helmet. Okay, so let's take a look at that. The Phrygian type. Excavated. Okay, it's got plume holders. Multiples of plume holders. Okay, so let's take a look at the plate C. From Alexander's sarcophagus. Only the short-sleeved under tunic is worn here. The long-sleeved over tunic being discarded. Okay. The shaggy felt saddle is colored purple and yellow. Okay. The purple of the same dark shade as the cloak. Well, they look lighter. Could be a regimental color of the Thessalians, and the yellow a squadron color. Okay. Oh, wait. What is that last thing it said? And the yellow squadron color. Note that the harness is brown and not the red, which may have been find to the companions. Oh, I see. The bridle is red on the companions. Okay, now the officer figure, the laurel wreath around the helmet either painted and or probably applied in silver, may be a mark of rank. The same is almost certainly true of the brackets. Bracelets. Okay, I don't understand that. The edge of the cloak is obscured on the sarcophagus and has been restored as white by comparison with plate C1. The colors of the cuirass are difficult to determine. Described it as yellow, but the watercolors of winter show the as white faced with fine black lines. Precise colorization is lost. Okay. From the Alexander sarcophagus. Okay, from the Isis mosaic, in the mosaic, the cloak is damaged in the mosaic, but has been reconstructed with a yellow border by comparison with plate B3. The green girdle, what am I looking at? I don't see a girdle. A1. What am I? Okay, maybe I didn't look at the right plate. Ah, there we go. Okay. Might be green if you want to look at it like that. The mosaic was copied for the original. The cloak is damaged. The green girdle worn over the cuirass, the green edging and neck holes. Normally, the king would have worn a Boeotian helmet. Well, my Alexander has the other helmet. Figures from Alexander's sarcophagus used to figure reconstruction of the plates. Okay. Companion cavalry. From the Alexander sarcophagus, normally the companions would wear white cuirass, similar but possibly less ornate. Here, a Persian saddlecloth is used. Okay. Okay, this is showing all of Alexander's cavalry and everybody using the Boeotians. But I don't think that's the case. Okay. More looky look. Okay, I've got something called Alexander Campaign Series. Got some of the same pictures in it. There we go. Look at that. Okay. Those look like Greek helmets. Yep, that's what they say, Greek helmets. Okay, the companions were protected by metal helmets. Okay. And carried no shields. Parmenio. Battle of Granicus. Gaugamela is the big one. After Granicus. Battle of Isis. There's a lot of Persians. Greek mercenary in Persian service. Okay. The Battle of Gaugamela. Yeah, Alexander here, she's got a plumed helmet. Okay. The Bactrian years. Battle of Hydaspes. Elephants. Pikemen. Right there. Oh, that's up and this down. Greek, a broad-brimmed hat. Yeah. In the glossary. Okay. All right, so that didn't help at all. Crap. And I had a book. I don't know where it is, but it had like I've got it tucked away, so I'll find it after today's video, I'm sure. But it's armor all through history. Who used it, where it was used, how it was made, what it was called, what each little armor piece was called, that kind of stuff. A fairly big book, if I remember right. I just don't see it anywhere. Okay, so we're going to try something. Oh, it's 2:41. Okay, guys. Well, this is what we're gonna do. Since I'm getting ready to go online, and I want to take a look to see exactly where they place. It doesn't really matter because I think I can do the companions with the Boeotian helmets, and then the Thessalians with the Urkel helmets, and the Greeks with the Urkels or whatever. I'll just paint them in different color patterns to make sure that we can identify them on the table as who they are. But in my next update, like when these guys get finished or what have you, stay tuned for my updates. If I've made a decision by then, I'll show you why I made that decision and how it's impacted my painting and everything. But we're not going to do that today. I think I'm going to do a little research, and then I really have got to crack down on my game tonight. I've got a role-playing game that I run every Wednesday night at 7. You should come and check that out. I've got a player in my game that I need to write him a letter uh, expressing some concerns that I have with him so that he can understand where I'm coming from. It's basically just, hey, this is what I've seen. Hopefully I'm misjudging the situation. You know, and if I'm not, and he decides to leave the game, then so be it. But I got to do that. I want to do a little research, and I guess I will see you